because that's the last thing that we have not gone over, true? We went over our piece. Hopefully you've picked a piece by now. We went over harmonization last week using a substitution of 2-chord, 3-chord, or 6-chord. And we went over scales and arpeggios. And we went over our first chord progression. We have one more chord progression that I want to hit up today. And I want to do sight reading today. So I want to tell you about my favorite sight reading books. Which are called 4-Star Sight Reading and Ear Tests, Level 1.
Do we need to go out and buy that?
You do not need to go buy this. You might want to go buy this, but you don't need to. These books are quite expensive.
Oh.
These from the Canadians?
Yep, this is the Canadians, the Royal Conservatory books. This is a $16 book for sight reading. And it's supposed to last you 3 months. If you do one thing a day, it should last you 3 months. But the Canadians are really good at having a system, and most everybody in Canada uses the same methods. They use the same exam system is what it really is, and they all play for a judge, and it's kind of a pecking order in Canada. If you say to somebody, did you take piano growing up? And they'll say, yeah, I'm a level 7. And everybody automatically knows, oh, wow, that's really impressive. You made it all the way to level 7. And then they'll respond, well, I only made it to level 4. Like, everybody knows there's a pecking order and there's a level, and, oh, I got my level 9 done or whatever. So they all know. It's kind of nice because it's kind of like a national system that everybody in Canada uses, and it's growing here in the United States, which is nice. But as we know, in America, land of the free, home of the brave, anybody can and does teach piano lessons. So the standard is all over the map, where Canada has, this is their level. They have different levels, but they've at least got a standard. So that's my Canadian push for the day. But I wanted to read to you from the front of this book how they teach sight reading. And Alex, if I was to encourage you to buy these books, I would tell you to try to find them used really cheap on eBay or Amazon or one of my favorite sites.
$16 doesn't seem like a lot, but I guess it doesn't look like it's a very thin book, huh?
Right, we're talking
$1 a page.
We're talking 48 pages. So, I mean, when you look at most method books for the U.S., like they're paying $8 a book, so it's almost double of what. But I think that the quality's more than double. So
you know, that Canadian dollar is only worth half as much.
Right. But that's the American dollar price. The other thing about the Canadian system is they redo their books every 7 years. And so another thing that you could do, Alex, is you could go get the last syllabus's books, the last syllabi's books, probably for really cheap because nobody uses them anymore and they just unload them. And you could work on that and then always be a set behind, but
yeah, we're American.
Yeah, it's still better than nothing. So here are their suggestions for practicing sight reading. Study the example, making note of the time signature and any distinctive rhythmic patterns. Count and tap the basic beat with your hand or foot for at least one measure, then continue tapping while you perform the rhythm. You can speak the rhythm using a syllable of your choice, for example, la or ta. Count the rhythm, 1 and 2 and etc. Clap the rhythm or tap the rhythm with your other hand. Keep a steady pulse and feel the regular accent of the time signature. Remember, the goal is to recognize the rhythm symbols as familiar patterns of sound, not math problems. So that's for reading rhythms. For sight playing, they want you to do 4 things. Preview the music, practice the rhythm, play silently, then play out loud. Under preview the music, it says take time to study the example. Determine the tonality by looking at the key signature, opening and closing notes, and scale or chord patterns. If the key is unfamiliar to you, practice the corresponding scale and tonic triad plus inversions to review the notes and fingering. Observe the structure of the music, looking at phrasing as well as shorter melodic and rhythmic patterns. Mark important items such as fingering, dynamics, articulation markings directly on the music. Notice the tempo indication, if any, as well as expressive markings. Under practice the rhythm, it says to improve sight reading accuracy, rehearse the rhythm of the excerpt so you know how it goes before you play. Determine the best way to count based on the time signature and note values. Then set the tempo by tapping and counting 1 measure. Sing the rhythm out loud or tap it on the closest keyboard cover. Under play silently, it says locate the starting note and finger in each hand. So many people don't do that. Find your first note and put the right finger on it. Set yourself up for success. What a crazy idea. Placing your fingers on all the keys, white or black, needed to play the example. Then silently practice the melody on the surface of the keys. This will lead to greater accuracy when you play out loud. Play out loud. Choose a tempo that will allow you to play without hesitating. Playing with a metronome will help you maintain a steady tempo. Keep your eyes on the music as much as possible, focusing your attention on groups of notes that form recognizable patterns rather than individual notes. Do not stop to correct mistakes. So that is the advice that they give you. What did you think about that?
Good. I think it's applicable to a lot of just any type of playing, which is important.
A lot of these things seem really, 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 really obvious, but for some reason, every time that I go to sight read something, my brain automatically starts thinking in codes and in numbers and like super like mathematical, which is not the way that I think, but that's just the way that I see sight. Like when I sight read music, I'm like, well, technically speaking, it's like, recognize patterns and make it easy on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you want us to work on sight reading stuff and then send it to you? Like,
well, I think for sight reading we have to do it live.
I know, but for how long? Like, will you give us 15 minutes to work on it and then play it, or how do you want to do that?
Probably like 5. Let's do one together, shall we? Let's turn in our books to page 162.
I'm not at a piano or keyboard.
Okay. Get your phone out. No.
And don't have the ability to really move everything right now last minute.
Okay, well, you'll get the idea. And then you'll just do this on your own. All right, we're looking at example 6-27 on page 162. So don't play anything unless do what they said to do. So the first thing they said to do was to preview the music. So give me all the details you can tell me just by looking at it without playing anything. Ready, set, go.
6-27, right?
Correct.
Well, it's in 4/4 time.
Good.
It's in G.
Key of G.
G major, good.
Major.
Your right hand starts on finger 1, and then your left hand starts on finger 5.
So our hands are in G major 5-finger positions, we could say. Is that fair?
Yes.
Now, the number one thing that I can tell you, the number one gift I can give you to become a better sight reader is for you to understand that good books, good publishers give you a finger number when you leave a 5-finger pattern. So in measure 5 in the right hand, they give you a 2 and a 4, and that should be a major red flag to you. Hey, you've just left your G major 5-finger pattern. Because we know that our 2 belongs on A in a G major 5-finger pattern. True?
Yes.
Welcome, Mr. Bajorquez. We are on page 162, and we are looking at example 6-27 for sight reading. So, a finger number is a red flag saying, hey, we've switched hand positions. Sometimes, however, publishers are not so helpful, like in measure 1 in the left hand. And they give you unnecessary fingering numbers that confuse us more than help us. There's no need for them to give us the 1 and the 3 on the D and the B. However, the 1 and the 2 are super helpful in measure 2. And technically, they could have given it back to us, the 1 and the 3, in measure 3, but they don't. We have to have the 5 in measure 4 telling us, hey, you switched a hand position down to F sharp. Right?
I didn't even notice because of the other times that they've put 5.
Yeah. Okay, what else do you notice? We're scanning the score.
Down by a step in the last.
It's all quarter and half notes.
Okay, our rhythm's pretty basic. Catherine, you were saying something about steps?
Goes down by step in the last 2 measures in the right hand, so it's.
Oh, it's just stepping down the scale. I see, yeah. What else about contour? What about our contour in other places?
Left hand is mostly the same until the last measure.
Good. So measure 1 and measure 5 are remarkably similar, as are 2 and 6. Measure 4 and 7 are identical. Measure 1 and 8 are the same with the exception of a chord at the end. Did anybody notice that pattern or know what that pattern's called?
Here?
The last measure?
Just the left-hand accompaniment pattern.
Arpeggio?
No.
It is a sort of an arpeggio.
Mm.
Now we're going to feel really smart when we look right above. It says
Alberti
chords
Bass?
are often used as follows. Alberti Bass. So it's called Alberti Bass because Alberti was the first composer or the composer that's credited with doing this. So what you're doing is you're doing pinky, thumb, third, thumb, which ends up being root, 5th, 3rd, 5th, root, 5th, 3rd, 5th.
Mm.
And we're doing that on our pattern of a 1-4-1-5-1 chord progression. You remember 170? That we did in piano 1? We're just doing that with Alberti Bass. That's the kind of patterns that Canada is trying to get us to pick up on super quick. Like, we should have had 5 examples already done in the time we've been talking about this. But that's okay, because that's where we're at right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's how quick we want to be picking up on this kind of stuff. Okay, other things you want to talk about scanning the score?
Well, mezzo piano is the dynamic marking.
Good. Okay, so they tell us to look at the tonality, look at the key signature, look at the opening and closing notes. Did you do that? You know the scale, you know the chord patterns. We talked about that. The key's familiar with us, so we know we have F sharps. So we don't really need to play our scale and our triads, although we could. We observe the structure of the music, looking for the repetition. But we could also look at the phrasing. Did anybody notice the phrasing?
The phrases that are the same.
So we have 4 measured phrases.
They're similar. The notes are similar. It looks like they're transposed a little bit, but
Good.
the
And
durations are
Do you see how it's kind of a question-answer phrase? The question ends on a half cadence in measure 4,
Interesting.
and then measure 8 ends on a cadence, a perfect cadence, authentic cadence. We talked about rhythmic and melodic patterns. We talked about 1 being identical to 5. Measure 2 and 6 are similar, but they're not totally. We talked about, Catherine talked about the step down, the major scale at the end. That was good. Okay, rhythm. Let's clap the rhythm. Left hand's really easy. It goes pi, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we end with a pi, pi, or a 3, 4 at the end. Okay, right hand. 1. We're going to use pies. Is that all right?
Sure.
Some of my ear training kids in here are like, what? But my piano 1 kids are like, yeah, we know pi. 1, 2, ready, go. Pi, 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 pi. Pi, 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 pi. Okay, I want you to tap it. I want you to tap on your thighs, both hands at the same time. You can choose whether you want to count the left hand, you don't, or the right hand. Ready? So do that on your own. Ready to go.
Uh-huh.
You're muted, by the way.
You're
All
on
those
mute.
nuggets of information, we couldn't hear you because you were muted, Bascom.
You're muted, Bascom.
I just told you the secret to being happy in life.
Dang it!
No, it's okay. We're good.
I blame Palmer for this.
So I want you to shadow play it now. And remember, it said the secret to success is putting your fingers on the right keys with the right finger numbers. No matter if they're black or white. Do we have any black notes in this example?
Yeah. Yes.
We have an F sharp. We have a couple F sharps in the left hand.
Good. Measure
Measure
4.
4 and measure 1, 4, 5, 7.
Nice. So we actually are going to switch hand positions. So looking at the finger numbers is a good thing to figure that out. Oh, yeah, I do drop that 5 to the F sharp. So go ahead and shadow play it. Now, to me, it was super, super helpful to know that my left hand was just doing Alberti Bass on the 1, the 4, the 5. So I could kind of go on autopilot mode in my left hand and really focus on the right hand, which is not doing that pattern, right? Now, I like to tell my students to count 2 measures before you come in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You ready to play? Let's play this. So I'm going to count 2 measures and then let's play. 1, 2. Make sure you're muted. 3, 4, 1, 2. Ready, go. How do we do?
Badly.
Okay, that's a great. I'm glad there were a couple train wrecks out there. Tell me, what do you know now that you wish you would have known before we started? What got you?
I typically
tripped you
practice
up?
one hand at a time, so doing both at the same time for the first time didn't work.
Welcome to the big leagues. So that really makes the tapping super important.
Well, it was tapping was fine. It was the notes itself and trying to get
Okay.
oh,
And you're not used to reading 2 clefs as a vocalist at the same time, with 2 appendages.
I
mean, it's different. Merlin.
I forgot that I hadn't played piano over the summer, and so I'm rusty reading treble clef. As when I started playing, I only played the right hand because I'm like, okay, I can get that, and then I'll get the bass later. Because while I was trying to sight read, I'm like, okay, for the most part, just try and get the right hand down, and then the left hand will come in later.
Okay. So, it's sounding like some of us need to do some residual work to get our skills back where they were, back where they should be. Yeah. And it's hard taking this class fall, not having just taken piano 1 right before. So what I would tell you is I would tell you that there is a reading section in every chapter of this book. Every unit has a reading section. So I would go back and do, units 1 through 12's reading assignments. As a residual, let's work our way back in. And you might go back to unit 1 and you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so easy. I'm not even going to waste my time. And that's totally fine. Find the unit where it's like, okay, this is my level. This is where I can play comfortably hands together. I'm going to start there. But if it's unit 1, it's unit 1, and that's fine. Just work your way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
I think for me, I kind of go off what Merlin was saying. I just haven't got used to reading the treble clef, a bass clef all the way. I'm like, oh, okay, this is easy. I'm like, so I just need to refresh myself. But I think a big thing that helped is just tapping. I know that that's what I'll do even when I play bass. I'll just, before I even start bowing, I'll just go through and just so I can have the rhythm down.
Yeah. Let's do another one. Let's do 6-29. So no playing. Scan for detail. Ready, set, go.
F major.
F major.
Well, we're playing block chords on the left hand all throughout.
Block chords. Is there a pattern to them?
Yeah, just quarter notes, and well, we've got a couple of half notes.
They're triads.
What kind?
They just look like probably root. They're 1 3 5, 1 3 5. Then when you go to measure 3, you might have a inversion.
Can you give me a Roman numeral?
I think it's probably That might be second inversion. So 1, 6, 6/4? Am I off?
A 1/6/4?
Yeah, or I mean, it might be just. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna say a 1/6/4, and if that's wrong, that's fine.
That is wrong. That's okay. Try again.
Um,
What chord follows the 1 chord? You were in my theory class.
Gosh, yeah, I was
Say
in
it,
theory
Alex.
1.
Say it, Bojorquez.
It's a 4.
4.
Yeah, it's the 4 chord.
Wrong, Alex, man. How dare you?
It's the 4/6/4 chord.
Approaching on his territory.
I'm just gonna call you Bojorquez.
Yeah, get used to it.
Ask him. Hold me back.
He's gonna reach through the screen, just like.
Come at me.
What was that? What was that? That was Street Fighter. Do you remember Street Fighter? You guys are too young. All right, so this is all this is this a 1-4-1-5-1 chord progression. So we get 1 chords for 2 measures. Then we get 4 chords for 2 measures. Then we go back to our 1 chord for a measure. We go to our 5/7 chord for a measure. 2 measures. And then we end on 1 chords. It's straight up chunking our 1-4-1-5-1 chord progression in the left hand, which is comforting to me, so I can know I can go kind of on autopilot, and I got to really pay attention to the right hand rhythm and melody. Let's clap and count right hand rhythm. You ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Pie, apple, pie, pie. Pie, apple, pie, pie. Pie, apple, pie, pie. Pie, 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 pie. Pie, apple, pie, pie. Pie, apple, pie, pie. Apple, 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 pie, 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 pie. Any patterns there?
A quarter followed by 2/8 followed by a half. Repeats quite a few times.
So that rhythmic figure of measure 1 happens in measure 2, measure 5, measure 6.
Yep.
Good. Do they give us any finger numbers?
They give us that 3 at the beginning.
Good. What does that 3 signify?
No, we're putting a 3rd finger on that A.
So usually that means a change of hand position. Do we change hand position?
Well, not immediately.
We will later.
We changed in our hand position to measure 3. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given us the 3.
We need it for measure 2 to hit that F. Because if we started on 1, then we'd have to.
I see what you're saying. I'm talking about measure 3's 3.
Oh.
Yeah, we were talking about the first measure.
Sorry, measure 3's 3. Yeah, so they gave us the starting finger number, bless their hearts. But then they give us another finger number in measure 3 telling us we switched hand position. What hand position did we switch to?
Well, they flatten the note, so we're just moving our hand a little bit.
So we're really only moving that 3rd finger a half step. We go from F major to F minor. That's what I want you to realize. So 1, 2, 4, and 5 stay the exact same. But 3 moves from A to A flat. And what I also want you to pay attention to is that flat lasts that whole measure. So you're going to be playing 3 A flats, yes?
Could I ask you an unrelated question?
Absolutely.
I was doing a piece for voice class, learning a piece for voice class, and they had a flat on a grace note. Does that also apply to regular notes within that same measure?
I would say yes.
Okay. It was very, very tiny. That's why I had to scratch my head.
Yeah. So I don't want you to miss the 2nd and 3rd A flat in measure 3. And then I want you to also realize that in measure 5, we go back to A natural. So don't get stuck in minor. You with me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's tap and shadow play. Super fast. Ready, go. I want to also ask you, do we have any black notes besides that A flat?
We have a B flat.
Good. Where does it actually get played?
7?
Measure
7.
6 and 7.
6.
7.
6 and 7.
6 and 7 is true. For the right hand,
For the left hand, it's measures
6?
3, 4,
6.
6, and 7.
7.
3, 4, 6, 7. Yeah. All right, we ready to play this? Ready or not, it's going to be a train wreck for some of you. That's all right. We're doing our best. 1, 2, ready, go. How did we do?
Perfect.
A lot better than the first one.
Okay.
A lot better. I guess it was the key? I don't know.
Could be. All right, we went over, remind me, last time we went over the chord progression for 242. Is that true? With the two chord substitution, is that true?
Yes.
Okay, we need to go back and take a look at 210. That is another chord progression that's going to be on your midterm
210,
exam.
210, 210, 210.
The nice thing about this chord progression is you already learned it in major. It's just your 14151 chord progression that you learned on page 170 in major, but it's now in minor. So this is example 8-27 on page 210. And I don't know if you remember, do you remember how far everything moved in 170? Do you remember that?
How far we moved? What do you mean?
I'll show you in 1 second. Oops. Oh, I don't have my screen shared with you. What am I doing? There you go. Can you all see my minor chord progression?
Yeah.
Okay, so the bass goes do, do, ti, do, and it only moves by half step when it moves. Otherwise, it stays the same. You with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, sopranos. Mi, fa, mi, So they only move by half steps as well. And the altos. Do. Sorry. Did I do that wrong? I totally did that wrong. So, la, so. Me, fa, me, fa, me. They only move by whole step, our altos. So that's how I like to think of these chord progressions. I like to think of them intervallically. So we know how far our fingers have to move, 2 keys or 1 key. I don't know if it's helpful for you to think of it this way, just to do each voice at a time. Or if it's easier for you to think vertically, middle note up a whole step, top note up a half step, and back the same distance. Bottom note down a half step, middle note up a whole step, and back. To me, all you really have to focus on is this change and this change. Everything else is moving back where we were. Whole step up, half step up, and back. Half step down, whole step up, and back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I personally like to think vertically. I just look at the whole block and.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Now, I did record a video on this, and I will post that video link to Canvas so that you have it if it's not there already. It is on Canvas already as an assignment for badges. But does that include a video?
Is this A minor, I mean?
That is A minor. Questions? No problem, Kayla.
When is that assignment due?
Well, that's one of your badges for your midterm.
Okay, just whenever.
So if you want bragging rights, you know, academic aardvark or whatever you all are.
Yeah.
Larita, you are totally missing out this year. There's badges instead of pass-off sheets. We had to do badges, and everyone has funky names.
Aww.
And so we've got like a cheeky condor and I don't know. There's some crazy names out there.
Oh, about a nautilus.
There's a nautilus. There's a sea cucumber. They all have an adjective. And right now, the respective nautilus or something, the Reverend Nautilus something, is in first place with 1 badge. And everyone else is tied for second with 0 badges. And there's a leaderboard. That's what we missed. That's what you missed at the very beginning of class. We were going over the leaderboard of badges.
There's a cheeky something or another too, I think.
The cheeky condor.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will post the video for me doing the chord progression on page 210. I have a video on YouTube, and I'll post that. I post stuff all the time. It's probably annoying if you subscribe because you're going to get theory and ear training videos, but maybe that's something that you're into, so it doesn't hurt to subscribe.
What's your handle again?
Doc B Theory. I'm pretty sure. It's the one where I look like the Obama poster.
All you really need is that Doc B, and you'll find him.
Yeah. There's another Doc B Theory out there, I hear.
No, I found him last semester. I wasn't even looking for him. I said, who's this Doc B guy? And there he was, Dr. Baskin.
Any questions or comments for me before we call it a day? We've now gone over everything on the midterm. It's just up to you to do the practicing and get stuff passed off. In the future, I might want to do some appointments like on Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday at this time to help you guys get sight reading done, passed off. So I might do some sign up times on that to help. Cool?
Cool.
All right. I will see you next week. Practice hard.